Welcome back to Management 416. In this video lecture, I will be covering Capstone's marketing interface and I will introduce you to forecasting. In the R&D department, you were making decisions related to the first P, product. In the marketing department, you will be making decisions related to the three other P's, price, place, and promotion. In the marketing department, you will set the price of your products, invest in promotions to increase awareness of your products, invest in sales to increase accessibility of your products, forecast per product how many you think you will sell, and set accounts receivable and accounts payable policies. Before we go into the marketing department to make decisions, let's cover some rules specific to the simulation. The first decision you will need to make in marketing is the price of your products. Price drives the product's contribution to profit. A low price increases volume and market share, but reduces profit per unit. Too low of a price can even lead to negative profits. Another important fact to know about the simulation is that segment price ranges fall each year. Do you know by how much? Segment price ranges fall at a rate of 50 cents per year. Let's take a look at an example. What is the low-end price range for year 0, the year before you start making decisions? If you do not know, where do you think you can find this information? You can find this information in the Capstone Courier, which you can access when you are making decisions in Capsim. The Capstone Courier is the industry newsletter. What you see here is the low-end segment analysis page of the Capstone Courier for round 0, the year prior to the first year that you start to make decisions. During round 0, customers expected a product to be priced within the range of $15 and $25. Demand for your product will depend on how well you and your competitors' products fulfill the customer buying criteria. Note that price is the most important customer buying criterion for this customer segment. The low-end customer is our most price-sensitive customer, and low-end customers attribute a whopping 53% of their purchase decision to price. Your customers have a price range that they find acceptable between $15 and $25. However, the lower the price, the higher the demand for your product will be. This is true in general, but especially pertinent for low-end customers given how price-sensitive they are. From the low-end segment analysis page of the Capstone Courier that we just looked at, we know that during year 0, low-end customers expect your low-end sensor to be priced between $15 and $25. We also know that the expected price range falls at a rate of 50 cents per year. Therefore, in year 1, low-end customers expect sensors that are priced between $14.5 and $24.5. How you decide to price your product within the expected range should depend on your strategy, how important of a criterion price is for the customer segment, and the pricing of your competitors' products. As a reminder, a lower price leads to a higher volume and higher market share, but it also leads to lower profits. If you price your sensors too low, it is even possible to end up with negative profits for that product. The second decision that you will enter in the marketing interface is your promotions budget. Promotion drives customer awareness. The more you invest in promotions, the more customers are aware of your product. The more customers are aware of your product, the higher your sales volume will be. Promotions include all kinds of advertising, whether it is on billboards, TV, or online. Awareness decays over time. You lose about 1/3 of awareness each year as customers forget about your product. If your product had 60% awareness last year and you do not spend any money on promoting the product this year, awareness will fall to 40%. It is important to invest in promotions to maintain or increase awareness. Promotion efforts are subject to diminishing returns, because the more you advertise, the more likely it is that you will reach customers that are already aware of your product. As you can see, the relationship starts kind of linear, but then it flattens, reducing the returns that you will get for increasing your promotions budget. Your first $1 million increases awareness about 22%. The second million adds another 23%, for 45% in total, and the third million only adds another 5%. If we assumed a promotions budget of $2 million, our awareness would be 40% starting awareness, a 22% increase from the first million that you invest, and another 23% increase from the second million that you invest, for a total awareness of 85%. Once you reach 100% awareness, you can maintain that with a budget of $1.4 million. Each product has its own promotions budget and needs to create its own awareness. Having high awareness for one product does not translate into high awareness for your other products. When you launch a new product, it starts with 25% awareness at no cost because of the buzz that new products create. The third decision that you will enter in the marketing interface is your sales budget. Your sales budget drives accessibility. Accessibility examines the question, how easy is it for customers in the segment to interact with your company during and after the sale? It measures distribution channels, sales force, shelf space, order entry systems, customer support, and so on. The easier it is to interact with your company, the more likely it is customers will choose your products. A 60% accessibility rating means that 60% of your customers find it easy to work with you, and 40% do not. Put simply, if you and a competitor offer identical products, you are more likely to win the sale if your accessibility is higher than your competitors. Accessibility decays over time. You lose about 1/3 each year. If your product had 60% accessibility last year and you do not spend any money on sales this year, accessibility will fall to 40%. It is important to invest in sales to maintain or increase accessibility. Diminishing returns apply. If you have one product in a segment, there is no additional benefit to spending more than $3 million. If you have 2 or more products in a segment, there is no additional benefit for spending more than a combined $4.5 million. A $1 million sales budget combined across all products in the segment adds 7%. $2 million adds 22%. $3 million adds 32%. And $4.5 million adds 35%. For example, suppose you had 60% accessibility in a segment last year. 1/3 will be lost, leaving 40% of your customers happy with their interactions with you. If you would budget $2 million for sales, you would end the year with 62% in accessibility, 40% starting accessibility, and 22% from the $2 million investment. A $3 million sales budget would attain 72%. There is no additional benefit for spending more than $3 million if you have only one product in the segment. Accessibility is a segment issue. Products within the segment are assigned to segment's accessibility. When you launch a new product, it will receive the same accessibility as the segment it is launched in. This makes sense. All low-end customers, for example, are likely to be able to rely on the same distribution channels. The fourth decision you will enter in the marketing interface is your sales forecast. Forecasting is very important in the simulation, but it is also quite difficult. Since we are always processing decisions for a year, you cannot adjust your production schedule when you notice that your sales are higher or lower than forecasted. While forecasting in the simulation is an educated guess, I will share an approach with you that works quite well, and this approach will help you avoid major issues related to forecasting. In order to understand the importance of forecasting, we need to appreciate what happens when our sales forecast is off and we produce either not enough or too many products. I want you to take a moment to pause the lecture and try to finish these sentences for yourself before continuing to watch the video. When we forecast too low, our company will stock out. We will not have produced enough sensors to meet demand. Stocking out means that you have missed sales that would have contributed to the bottom line. Since our fixed costs in R&D, promotions, sales, and administration do not go up when we sell more products, any additional sales really can increase our profits. When we forecast too high, we will produce too much product. This will mean we will carry a lot of inventory. It costs money to have inventory since it needs to be warehoused. So we will be stuck with high inventory carrying costs. In addition, when we have a lot of inventory, this means that a larger portion of our current assets is stuck in inventory, resulting in a lower cash amount. High inventory therefore can mean we run out of cash. And when we run out of cash, we will need an expensive emergency loan from Big Al. Overall, we will want to try to avoid stocking out or having high inventory. There are a few approaches to do forecasting in the simulation, and I recommend that you watch the forecasting video available under Simulation Resources in Blackboard. The approach that I find the most effective approach is one where you use the December customer survey score in order to develop a forecast. This approach is more accurate than using your product's average market share from the previous year, because the December customer survey score depicts the situation in December, the month before you make decisions, rather than the average of the entire previous year. I also use the benchmark prediction to help me understand how changes would affect my forecast. I will illustrate this later on. The customer survey score drives demand for your product in a segment and therefore determines your market share. The customer survey score is determined by the 4 P's: price, product, promotion, and place, as well as awareness, accessibility, your credit policy, and product availability. Price and product are found in the buying criteria. Together, they present a price-value relationship. If you offer a product at the lowest price within the customer price range, with perfect positioning, perfect age, and the highest MTBF in the customer's range, you will get a perfect customer survey base score of 100%. This base score can fall because of low awareness or low accessibility. Your promotion budget builds awareness, the number of customers who know about your product before sourcing. Your sales budget, which represents place, builds accessibility, the ease with which customers can work with you after they begin sourcing. Similar products with higher awareness and accessibility will score better than those with lower percentages. To the 4 P's, we can add 2 additional elements: credit terms and availability. Credit terms are expressed by your accounts receivable policy. A company's accounts receivable policy sets the amount of time customers have to pay for their purchases. The more time you give your customers to pay for their purchases, the happier they are. The sooner you want your customers to pay their bills, the unhappier they will be, and this will negatively affect your customer survey score. Availability addresses inventory shortages. If your company faces inventory shortages, this will reduce the customer survey score. The customer survey score drives demand for your product in a segment. The higher the customer survey score, the higher customers rank your product compared to competitors' products. The customer survey score, therefore, is an accurate predictor of sales. Customer service scores are calculated 12 times per year, and the December customer service score is reported in the Capstone Courier. A main advantage of using the customer service score is that you are using your product's relative ranking by customers as of December, rather than using average sales of the whole last year to forecast. Your market share potential in any given month is your score divided by the sum of the scores. Let's take a look at our low-end product, Acre, and find the market share potential for Acre in December by taking its December customer survey score and dividing it by the sum of the scores of all products that sell in the low-end segment. Here you can see a snapshot of the low-end segment analysis of the Capstone Courier. Here you can find the December customer survey score. Since all companies are identical at the start of round 1, all products have the same customer survey score. This will change by the end of round 1, as all companies will make different decisions. To find the market share potential for company Andrews, we take our customer survey score and divide it by the sum of all the customer survey scores. This formula suggests that our potential market share is 0.167 or 16.7%. We can now develop a forecast using this market share potential. We would take into account how much demand there was in total in the industry last year, how much the industry is projected to grow this year, and how much our market share potential is. The total industry demand in round 0 was 8,960. The market is projected to grow 11.7% in round 1. Therefore, the total industry demand in round 1 will be 8,960 times 1.117. Our share of the market is 16.7%. Therefore, our sales forecast for our low-end product for round 1 is 1,672 units. Please note that these numbers are in thousands, so our actual forecast is 1,672,000 units. The customer survey score is for December, and obviously many things may change during the next year. It is possible that you will be reducing or increasing your price, or that you will change your product's positioning or MTBF. It is possible that you will increase investment in awareness and accessibility compared to others. It is possible that new products will enter the market segment, or old products will exit the market segment. This will affect the competition, the rivalry in the market segment, and therefore it will influence demand for your products. After this lecture, I will demonstrate how you can use the benchmark prediction to take into account your decisions for next year in your forecast. Just remember, the benchmark prediction should never be used for forecasting. You should always do your own forecast. But it can be useful to get an idea of the impact of changes to your market share. As mentioned, I will demonstrate this later. Finally, the marketing interface allows you to set your accounts receivable and accounts payable policies. You are also able to change these in the finance department. Your accounts receivable policy determines how long your customers have to pay their bills. Do you think your customers would prefer more or less time to pay you? The more time you allow them to pay their bills, the longer they can hold on to their cash and the happier they are. By allowing them more time to pay for your sensors, you are in effect giving them a short-term loan free of charge. The default in the simulation is an accounts receivable policy of 30 days. This means that your customers have 30 days to pay their bills. This default setting reduces your customer service score 7%. If you were to consider giving them more time to pay their bills, say 60 days, this would have a positive effect on your customer service score and increase your market share, because now your customer service score is only reduced 0.7%. Changing your accounts receivable policy from 30 to 60 days will mean that you will receive less cash when you make the change. My recommendation is to not deviate much from the default unless you have excess cash, and probably only in later rounds of the simulation. Your accounts payable policy determines how long you wait to pay your suppliers. Do you think suppliers would prefer to be paid faster or later by you? The faster you pay your suppliers, the faster they have cash and the happier they are. The longer you wait to pay your suppliers, the longer they have to wait for cash, which makes it difficult for them to meet their own cash obligations. Hence, the longer you wait to pay them, the more materials they will withhold, which can disrupt your production process and cause inventory issues, reducing the customer service score. I recommend you do not reduce the accounts payable policy unless you have excess cash. I want to remind you of the importance of aligning your decisions with your strategy. The online help guide in Capsim provides helpful tactics for each department for each of the 6 strategies. For example, if you were to pursue the broad cost leadership strategy, you should try to price lower than average. You should be able to do this if you focus relentlessly on reducing costs, for example, by investing in automation and by modestly spending in promotions and sales, until your cost leadership position is established. What I want to do next is go to the Capsim interface and actually make some decisions for the marketing department. Okay, so I logged into my Capsim account and I'm going to go to Decisions, launch the web spreadsheet, and now I am in the decision interface. Before we get started, I undid all decisions that we had made in R&D so far. It is possible that you already started making decisions for the individual graded practice rounds. If that is the case, you may not want to do the same thing, simply because it will reset all your decisions. If you have not yet started making decisions for the graded practice rounds, you can do the same and click along. In order to bring your decisions back to the start of the round, you can go to Undo and undo the start of round. Then you have to confirm that you want to return to the beginning of the round. This will reset you to the start of round 1 without any decisions saved. What I want to do is make decisions in marketing today. I will be going to Decisions, Marketing, in order to open up the marketing department. Remember, in marketing, you will be making decisions related to price, promo budget, sales budget. You will put in your sales forecast, and you can also make changes to accounts receivable and accounts payable policies. We will make decisions based on facts. We are not going to just make up decisions. So just as we did with the R&D department, we would be looking at our report section in order to understand what kind of decisions our customers want. Let's continue to make decisions for the low-end customer. Our low-end product is Acre, and if you do not remember which product is for which segment, it always helps me to go to the R&D interface and to look at which product is in which circle. You can see that Acre is in the circle for the low-end segment. First, what I'm going to do is develop a forecast based on the December customer survey score. In order to find the information to do so, I need to look at the low-end customer segment analysis in the Capstone Courier. So I'm going to go to Reports, Low-End Segment. So here's the low-end market segment analysis in the Capstone Courier for round 0. Again, we are making decisions at the start of round 1. I need to scroll down to find the top products in the low-end segment section. And you can see here are the December customer survey scores. Right now, because you are all making decisions individually, you have Company Andrews. So our product Acre has a customer survey score of 12. Remember, in order to find our market share potential, we need to divide our December customer survey score by the sum of all the customer survey scores in the low-end segment. So in order to do this, I first need to find out what the sum of all the customer survey scores is. Since we are at the start of round 1, all the companies are identical, and everybody's December customer survey score is the same. This will change quickly as companies start to make decisions individually. First, I want to find the sum of the December customer survey scores. In order to do so, I'm going to pull up my calculator, and we can see that there are 6 products in the low-end segment with the customer survey score of 12. So the sum of the customer survey scores is 12 times 6. That is 72. In order to get our market share potential, we need to take our own customer survey score of 12 and divide it by the sum of all the customer survey scores. So that would be 12 divided by 72. Okay, so this is our market share potential of 0.167 or 16.7%. The next thing I need is total industry unit demand. This was total industry unit demand in round 0. And next year, the segment is going to grow by 11.7%. So in order to get the total industry unit demand for round 1, I need to take the total industry unit demand for round 0 and multiply it by the growth rate. So I'm putting my calculator back up and I'm taking last year's total industry unit demand of 8,960 and I'm multiplying it by 1.117 to take into account the growth for next year. That gives us a total industry unit demand for round 1 of 10,008 products. Remember, our market share potential was 16.7%, so I need to multiply this by 0.167 in order to get our predicted sales volume. We end up with 1,671.39 units. So what we will do is round this up to 1,672. And remember, these are in thousands. I'm going to put this number into my forecast. I'm going to put in 1,672. This is my forecast purely based on the December customer survey score. I'm now going to make some changes to the price, promotions, and sales budget that will also affect our forecast. As I'm putting in this forecast, I'm also going to take note of the benchmark prediction of 1,357. And I'm actually going to make sure that I'm going to write this down. Now it's time to make decisions for price, promo, and sales budget. What I need to do is again go back to the Capstone Courier to better understand what the low-end market segment wants. So I'm going back to reports and open up the low-end segment of the Capstone Courier. We can see here that price is very important to this market segment. Customers accept a price between $15 and $25. However, a lower price is a better price. Also, this is the price range for round 0, and we are making decisions for round 1. So we need to take 50 cents off this range. Customers in the low end in round 1 are willing to pay between $14.5 and $24.5. This is very important. The low-end customer is a very price-sensitive customer. So we need to keep in mind that pricing is very important for this customer. They are willing to pay between $14.5 and $24.5. But we also need to keep in mind that the lower our price, the lower our profit. And if we price our product too low, we can even have negative profits. Right now, we are priced at $21. Let's say that for now I decide to keep this price. Then let's make decisions about promotions and sales. For promotion and sales, I find these little information buttons very useful. You can find them everywhere, but certain areas you will need them more than other areas. To be reminded of how the promotion budget works, in Capsim, you can click on the little information budget and it will give you the information. Remember, every year you lose a third if you do not invest. For Acre right now, we are investing $900,000 in promotions. Let's take a look and see how high our awareness and accessibility for Acre are. We go back to reports and bring up the low-end segment. And you can see here that for Acre, we have customer awareness of 52% and we have customer accessibility of 40%. These are pretty low, and we will lose 1/3 of awareness and accessibility if we do not invest anything. So going back to the information button, we can see that our first 1 million in promotions budget increases awareness about 22%, and a second million adds another 23%. The third million only adds another 5%, so it doesn't seem really worth it to invest a third million. The sweet spot seems to be somewhere between $1 and $2 million. It is really up to you how high you would want your promotion budget to be, taking into account profitability. But let's say for now I decide that I want to invest $1.5 million in promotions for Acre. I would do the same for the sales budget. I want to increase my accessibility. We only had 40% accessibility. This means that only 40% of our customers find it easy to work with us, and they might work with somebody else if their accessibility is higher. Here it says a $1 million sales budget adds 7%, $2 million adds 22%, and $3 million adds 32%. 7% doesn't seem like very much, so I think I will need to invest more than $1 million. The biggest increase is between $1 and $2 million. But there's also a 10% increase if you move your budget from $2 to $3 million. Let's say, for example, that I'm going to try to put in a sales budget of $1,750,000. What I want you to pay attention to now is to the benchmark prediction. The benchmark prediction has not changed yet because I have not yet recalculated my decisions. Once I'm going to hit recalculate, you will see that the benchmark prediction will probably go up since we are increasing our promotions and sales budgets. So I'm going to click on recalculate. You can see that our benchmark prediction has gone up. Our new benchmark prediction is 1,662,000 units. The way you can use the benchmark prediction is to kind of see like, okay, how much did the benchmark prediction increase by? And then we can consider adding this to our forecast. So in order to understand how much this increase in promotion and sales budget had the potential to increase our sales, I would use my calculator and I would take the new benchmark prediction and divide it by the old one. And we can say that, okay, based on this, we could expect about a 22% increase in our forecast. The benchmark prediction does not take into account your competitors' positions. If your competitors increase their promotions and sales budgets too, your sales would not increase by 22%. We want to take into account that, okay, probably our sales are going to increase because we increased our promotions and sales budget, but quite likely not by as much as 22% because some of our competitors are probably also going to increase their promotions and sales budget. This is where you have to really decide what you're going to do. Are you going to increase your forecast by 22%? Probably not a good idea because, as we discussed, your competitors are also going to make changes. Maybe you can increase it by less, like 5 or 10%. Let's say I'm going to increase my forecast by 10% because I think that my competitors will also increase their promotion and sales budgets, but maybe not all of them will increase it by as much as I have increased my budgets by. So in order to increase my forecast by 10%, I would take my original forecast and multiply it by 1.1. And that would give me a new forecast of 1,839. Then I would click recalculate. It is important to keep an eye on these numbers here. Assuming your forecast is accurate, these numbers will project your gross revenue per product, your variable costs, contribution margin, and your contribution margin minus your promotion and sales investments. The other thing that you can do at this point in time is take a peek at your proformas. Your proformas are hypothetical statements for next year based on the decisions that you enter into the simulation. If we go to our income statement proforma, we can look at our product acre where we have been making decisions. And you can see that assuming that our forecast is accurate, we would have a net margin of $4.8 million for this product. Finally, you will be able to make decisions for accounts receivable and accounts payable in the marketing interface. As we discussed, I don't really recommend changing those until later in the simulation and depending on how much cash you have. So that's it for the marketing interface. Next, we will discuss production.